Welcome to Thriving Your Love, a podcast where we will guide and help you improve your most precious relationships in life. This podcast is produced and hosted by certified emotionally focused therapist Claudio Vargas Silva, licensed marriage and family therapist, and Trisha Kim Walsh, also licensed marriage and family therapist. Well, happy New Year, listeners and viewers. Welcome back to Thriving Your Love. And this is our first podcast of the new year. I'm excited to kick us off. And today's topic is how stress hurts our relationships. And I am definitely a culprit of this, Claudio. I do this in my life, not just with my partner, I do this with my family. Sometimes I've done this with my clients. Like I can feel that sometimes they can feel the distractions I have when I'm feeling stressed of the workday. So I just want to name this is a topic that is beneficial for everyone and most important for your loving relationships, and why it's so important for us to understand when we're so in our head to get things done, to provide for our family and to provide for ourselves too, that there is a disconnection of being present with the people we love. And that causes such a loss. There can be so much grieving for both people involved. The one that's providing and the one that feels like I've lost you to work. I've lost you to heady activities. So I'll stop there and turn it over to you, Claudio. Again, how does stress affect our relationships?
Yes, and you see, because there are good intentions in terms of that, because usually we are doing something for the good of the family, right? For the good of our children, of our partner. We want to provide for them, we want to guarantee their comfort, but we become stressed because we have some anxiety or some perfectionism or some fear. We are afraid that we could not make ends meet, that we could not give them what they want. And sometimes we even have some pressures, some unintended pressures. So let's say that the partner says, "Oh, I would like to buy a new car," or the kid asks for some toy, and we don't want to let them down. And now we are, oh my goodness, I have to make more money. And then, we have all these concerns in our heads. And what we don't realize is that if we don't share these concerns, and some people, they have this thing because they want to protect their partners. And the way they do is that they keep their worries with themselves. They don't share them in a vulnerable way. And then they are in their heads. And when they are in their heads, they are not present. They are there, but they are not really emotionally present. So what happens? The kids, the partner feels this person's absence, and they start thinking negative things like, oh, it seems like I am not important. I'm not the priority. Oh, he or she doesn't care about me. He or she doesn't think about me, and I'm not the priority. So that's what happens, unfortunately, Trisha.
Yes, the the deprioritization can be so rejecting and so painful and confusing to feel like a nuisance, to feel that you're a bother. And I've been also the recipient in this experience. I will say, growing up as a child, my dad was such an incredible he had such an incredible work ethic. And whenever he came back from work, I could still feel like work was radiating off of him. I could see the wheels in his head still turning and a lot of worry. And as a kid that really worked hard to be a source of happiness for my parents, I really wanted to distract them from their stress. So I would try to get his attention and I would fail. He would not have it. He would really want me to go away and he would tell me to go away in many different ways, implicit as well as explicit. And it would be hurtful because there would be the feeling of you're at home, but you're not at home. You're still there. Your body is present, and it would be a painful dilemma of how do I have access to you if you're choosing to still be in work? And he would explain to me, I'm doing this for you. I'm doing this for your mom. I want us to have you in a good school district. So if we're going to pay for this house, somebody's got to do it. Are you going to do it? I was 10 years old at the time. So it's like I would if I could, but my work was my school. So Claudia was an example. And I hear this with other clients who've grown up in immigrant households is this fear, this scarcity mindset of if I don't do it, then who's going to do it? And we can't go back to the way things were. We need to live well. We need to have food on the table. We need to have a roof over our head. We need to have insurance. We need to be able to have things that like make life possible for us to survive. And there was also this survival mindset that I really felt for an immigrant. My dad acknowledged that it was hard to find jobs, especially having an accent. So there was just these constant fears of how are we going to make it to the next month? Because cost of expenses raising a family, children being involved in sports activities or wanting to play an instrument, all of these things add up. And my dad would be like, who's paying for that? Right. And my mom was largely a stay-at-home parent. So there was the pressure of this is my role. My responsibilities and yours is to watch after your mom and to do well in school.
Mhm. And what you are talking, I can see a combination of two things, Trisha.
Yeah.
One thing is the person's own anxiety, what the person carries in terms of their emotions and even like traumas from childhood. For some people, things can be easier to be dealt with, but
Mm.
for other people, they are more scared. They have some doubt of themselves. They have a view that things are very hard and that people might not care about them. So they carry that fear. And this can be coupled with circumstances, real circumstances that the person is living, as you said, like an immigrant. Can you imagine an immigrant that who doesn't have the same rights that citizens have, who doesn't have access to the same resources, and they feel much more pressure, especially in the way that things are now, like being afraid of being deported and having that concern with the family. But for other people also who are low income, who don't have like much education, who doesn't have a good career, a good job, and sometimes they have to have two jobs to make ends meet. So it's so much pressure on them and they are worried. And what happens is that the children will feel their stress and the partner will feel as well. And what we see, like for example, you told your dad, or your dad told you, oh, will you help me? Will you work for me? And you couldn't. But the thing is that children always want to do something for their parents. They have that magical thinking.
Right.
Oh, maybe I can help my dad. Maybe I can help my mom,
Right.
right? And it's not only the children, because the partner might have the same kind of thinking. If I was a good partner, I would be able to take his or her worries away.
Right.
I could make them happy.
Right.
And maybe he or she doesn't trust me and doesn't open up to me and doesn't give me this opportunity
Yes.
of being there for them.
Mm.
So you see that in any way, the person ends up not feeling important or feeling secondary, or not feeling meaningful. Right? Because why do you have me in your life if you don't trust me with your problems, if you don't open up to me, if you don't give me an opportunity of listening to you, empathizing with you, showing compassion? But the thing is that some partners also may not know how to do that. They not know how to help. They might even sometimes be critical. Oh, why do you place so much importance of in your work? Why do you think about work, work, work? Life is not only work, you
Right.
know.
Yes.
So life is about people. And
Yeah.
then that partner feels now misunderstood. Well, you don't know what it is to be in my place. You don't know what it is to have this responsibility on my shoulders. And the thing is that I'm doing this for you. I love you. You're important to me. You see everything that you have. You can rest because I am here and I'm working hard for you. But the thing is that I am the one who is carrying the load, and you don't help me anyway by accusing me and criticizing me. So then we see like how it's difficult for people, Trisha, to have a communication that will bring them together and that they will become a resource for each other, that they are going to be able to comfort each other. Like what you said about how your dad talked to you, right? It didn't come from vulnerability. It made sense,
Right.
but you ended up feeling blamed because you didn't understand him. You were demanding something from him, and you are not feeling that it was your right to have a dad that would be there for you. But he didn't know how to manage that, right? So that's how we see how love gets it wrong. There's so much love there, someone working hard and trying to be there for their family, but not knowing how to be vulnerable to connect emotionally with the family, Tricia.
Yes, yeah, an excellent summary of how this vicious cycle can go. Because if we really slow this down and show empathy and vulnerability, we can see what's really behind this is love. But it doesn't feel love, right? The one receiving, like myself in this example, I know I was speaking as a child, but I could replace myself as a partner, is to say is let's not miss out on time together because I'm feeling second. I feel like I'm being secondary in all of this. And I resent that because I miss you and I want you and I appreciate quality time with you. But then the rebuttal from that partner or that parent is I can't because if I'm with you doing these things, I'm not getting what needs to be done to provide for ourselves. So I really don't feel like you are appreciating this very painful task that I've taken on and the pressure and the stress and the anxiety to make sure we have the life that we deserve and the life that we came to this country to have better. I want better for us. And if families like the better is having you, there's the dilemma of I want to be there too, family, but I feel the pressure if I'm not working as hard as I need to take care of the things that need to get paid for, we won't have it. And then I will be a failure. I will feel ashamed that I didn't take care of you because you are the most important people in my life. And a lot of the time, this is where in my client sessions, clients really drop into some vulnerability and talk about what it was like growing up with very little, a lot of poverty and how hard it was for them to feel the loss of their parents because they knew their parents were working two jobs and still making very little. That they said to themselves as a child and as a teenager, I don't want to be that parent. I want to do something different. And then they come out, they work hard and then they find themselves in a somewhat similar cycle and will say as I can appreciate my parents more and knowing this very difficult position to be in of being the provider and feeling the responsibility and the burden of I have to do it right for my family or else something bad could happen.
Mm-hmm. Yes, Trisha. And what you see that there are some different ways that people can deal with that. And one of them is what we are talking like of being vulnerable, right? Of expressing feelings. It's like the person, the parent, the partner who is in that situation is opening up. And I feel so much pressure and I know I worry too much. I shouldn't worry that much. But the thing is that I cannot help it. I have some anxiety and I want to be there for you, and you are so important to me, and I love you, and I cannot accept that I won't be able to provide for you. and I don't want you to be disappointed at me. So, like this kind of a communication, very vulnerable, really helps the client to understand and to be there, right? And
Absolutely.
other thing too is that sometimes we have someone who is not able to be vulnerable like that. And it's very important that we see that we are able to see it's the problem is not about me. The problem is not that I don't deserve love, attention. If my partner is in their mind and they seem to be absent. It's not because they are rejecting me or I am not important to them. He or she has some problem that it's hard for them to open up and they are really worried. And I want to give an example here with my daughter because she suffers from anxiety. And sometimes I would get to her room to say something, and then she would look at me with some eyes like, "What are you doing here?" And then I felt rejected and I rushed what I had to say. And I felt, like unwanted, secondary. And then one day I opened up to her and I said, it's really hard for me because when I get to your room, it seems like I'm a nuisance. It seems like
Mm.
I'm not important to you and you're not happy to see me. And the thing is that it had an effect.
Mm.
It really changed, but because I was vulnerable, you see, like I
Mhm.
tried my best in terms of not being critical, but focusing on how I felt. So that is something so important for people to realize that when they open up, they try not to be critical, but they focus more on what they feel, the impact of what the person is doing on how they feel. And it had like it changed, as I said, it was a conversation at the beginning of 2024, and almost 2 years, and it changed. But there is something that I see in my daughter is that she's very on time. So it's like me also. I'm kind of very worried about my, the things that I have and my schedule. So if I say one time, it's pretty sure that I'm gonna be there at that time.
Mm.
So if she's in a rush and she passes by me, it's hard for her to stop and say goodbye. And she's in a rush. And I tended to feel rejected. Oh,
Mm.
she left and she didn't say goodbye to me, you
Right.
know. But then I realized, well, it's not about me.
Mm.
It's her anxiety.
Right.
And I can understand her, right? So that is also a message that we want to leave for
Yeah.
people is that they realize that it's not about them. It's not that the partner is rejecting them. Is that the partner might have some anxiety and some difficulties that it's hard for the partner sometimes to deal with. And when you understand that and you don't take things personally, that can also improve. So we see here a combination of vulnerability, but also putting ourselves in the other person's shoes, understanding how that person, because sometimes we think, oh, it's every time is about me, everything has to do with me. But people carry problems sometimes, anxiety, and it's important to try to understand them because then when we talk to them, they don't feel like we are attacking them, but they feel that we understand them and that we have feelings also, right? And that we need we need their attention, their understanding, and we also need their vulnerability, that they open up to us, that they seek comfort from us, and we are there for them because we love them.
Right. Beautifully said, Claudia. Beautifully said. I can't really add much more to that than what our often our message to our listeners is there's a power in the vulnerability because when you are sharing the real problem, the real source of that pain, which is fear, because that's really where stress is coming from, is I need to perform. I need to get this task done. And the fear of if I don't get it done, something bad could happen, consequences could happen. And what often happens in loving relationships is it's the rejection of feeling secondary, feeling not good enough, feeling like a nuisance. And so, whatever the source of the stress is, share it, slow down, share it, reflect on those moments. If I'd give everyone a thought exercise that they would carry on for the week is think of one person in your life that you may have been stressed with and be thinking of what was really the underlying issue that was happening with you. It could have been with the person, but my experience is it's actually not about the person, it's about the deadlines and the stresses and expectations that I have within and how powerful it
Mhm.
is if you can go back to that person and apologize and say, I wasn't really present. You wanted to talk with me or you wanted to spend time with me, but I was rushing and I really wasn't with you. And I'm sorry. And I want to do better because my stress got the best of me when I was really occupied with something else. And I don't want you to think that you're not important to me. And I really like that sentiment of I will do better because we are human. We are imperfect. We
Mhm.
are flawed. And I do that with my clients. Sometimes I have
Mhm.
misses and I say, tell me if there was a moment that felt missed so we can do better. Right. And
Mhm.
this really is a podcast about doing better. And thriving your love is about understanding that all of us universally have stress and how powerful it is for us to be vulnerable with people we love, people who've earned it, to share the real source of that, the problem, the pain, and to slow down and to say, you really matter to me.
Yeah. Thank you so much, listeners. It's a pleasure to be with you at the beginning of a new year.
That's right. That's right. We can't wait to record our next episode. And as a reminder for those who are listening, please send us topics, questions. And we've got a lot of exciting services ahead, Claudio. So we'll be
Mhm.
posting that. So stay tuned. And if you're at all interested in services with myself and Claudio, please reach out because we have some exciting things cooking in the kitchen. So stay tuned. Have a great new year, everyone. Thanks again. Thank you so much for tuning in with us today. We hope you'll join us soon again for our next episode of Thriving Your Love.